Welcome to Mythos AI, your source for Cliff's Notes on complex subjects. Join Anna and Phil for yet another engaging conversation.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at some of the challenges of scaling AI
Okay.
as we move, kind of towards this idea of artificial general intelligence or AGI.
Right.
And we're going to be talking about Kim Eisenberg's article, Scale is All You Need, Part 3, The Bottlenecks on the Way.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So,
scaling AI models has shown a lot of promise on the road to AGI, but Eisenberg points out there's some pretty significant roadblocks.
yeah. And in our deep dive today, we're going to focus on three of them.
Okay.
The first is this idea of agentic training data and why it's so scarce.
Right.
The second is this just crazy exponential growth of compute and power requirements for AI.
Yeah.
And then finally, the potential for like a new type of global inequality based on who has access to these resources.
Right.
So let's start with this idea of agentic training data. I mean, what is that?
Okay, so agentic training data is basically data that reflects how an autonomous AI agent would interact with and learn from the world.
Okay.
It goes beyond just passive data,
Right.
like static images or text. It aims to capture the process of an AI making decisions and taking actions in a complex environment.
So it's like if you're teaching someone to drive a car, you wouldn't just show them like pictures of cars.
Right.
You'd want them to actually get behind the wheel
Exactly. Yeah.
and experience, that dynamic environment.
Exactly.
So that's kind of like what we're talking about with agentic data, right?
Yeah, precisely. And the challenge is that most of the data we have now is passive.
Right.
So
Yeah.
imagine trying to train a self-driving car, but only using pictures of parked cars.
Right.
It's not going to learn how to navigate real traffic,
Right.
where it has to make decisions in real time.
Right. Right.
And that's why this scarcity of agentic data is a huge bottleneck.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, without it, AI models are going to be, really limited in their ability to learn these like complex real world interactions.
Right.
And that's really key for achieving AGI.
Yeah.
I mean, is anybody doing anything about this? Yeah, so companies like Scale AI recognize this,
Okay.
and they're actually working to convert unstructured data like text and images into agentic data sets.
Oh, okay.
So they're trying to translate the raw information into a format that captures these decision-making processes
Okay.
that AI needs to learn.
So they're trying to bridge this data gap.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's really interesting. So let's move on to the next bottleneck, which is compute.
Okay.
This processing power that's needed to run these complex AI algorithms.
Yeah.
I mean, can you just give us like just a basic understanding? What is compute?
So compute is basically the fuel that powers AI.
Okay.
And as these models get more and more sophisticated, they need more and more compute to function.
Okay.
So just like if you have a more powerful car, you need more horsepower.
Got it.
The more complex the AI, the more compute it needs.
And that's mostly coming from like specialized hardware, right?
Right.
Like these GPUs and TPUs that we hear about.
Yeah, so GPUs are graphical processing units. They were originally designed for processing graphics,
Okay.
like video games.
Right.
But because they can handle these massive parallel computations, they're really well suited for AI.
Okay.
And then TPUs, or tensor processing units,
Yeah.
they're specifically optimized for machine learning tasks.
So it's like if GPUs are powerful engines, TPUs are like supercharged.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're designed for these really complex mathematical calculations.
Okay. So how quickly is this demand for compute growing?
So the demand is growing at an exponential rate.
Okay.
Since 2012, the compute power needed to train AI models has been doubling every 3.4 months.
Wow.
Yeah, so imagine like the aviation industry going from the Wright brothers to landing on the moon in a decade.
Yeah, that is really fast.
Yeah.
So given this like just insane demand for compute, I mean, is there even enough processing power
That's a good question.
to keep up with, this AI development?
That's a major question facing the field right now.
Yeah.
As models grow in complexity, they require trillions of parameters.
Right.
And even with improvements in chip efficiency, the overall energy consumption is just skyrocketing.
So then, I mean, companies like NVIDIA, right, that make these GPUs, they must be like
Right.
doing pretty well.
They're essential to this race. Everyone needs more powerful chips.
Mm-hmm. So they're like the shovel makers during the gold rush.
Exactly.
But there's got to be some downsides, right? I mean, this can't all be good.
Yeah, so all this demand for compute, it has a cost.
Okay.
Training these state-of-the-art AI models is incredibly expensive.
Right.
Some estimates say that by 2027, the cost of training the most advanced models could be over $1 billion.
Wow, $1 billion.
Yeah, and that creates a huge barrier.
Yeah.
It could create a divide between those who can afford to be at the forefront and those who can't.
So is this trend towards larger, more compute-intensive models, is that just inevitable in AI?
Well, there's a strong correlation between model size and performance.
Right. But it's not as simple as bigger is always better.
Okay.
There is a growing understanding that efficiency and optimization also play a huge role.
Okay.
But the current trend definitely favors larger models,
Right.
which just leads to more demand for compute and higher costs.
So then that brings us to this example of OpenAI.
Right.
You know, this leading AI organization.
Right.
And they've recently said that they might shift towards a for-profit model.
Right.
What does that tell us about, like, the financial pressures even on these top AI companies?
Yeah, I mean, it highlights the immense financial resources that are needed to stay competitive in AI.
Yeah.
Even for a company like OpenAI, at the forefront of innovation,
Right.
the costs are so high that they're considering new business models.
Yeah, I mean, $1 billion to train a model, that's wild.
It is.
So we've talked about the data problem, we've talked about the compute problem, and kind of the financial hurdles.
Right.
But what about the energy implications of all this?
Yeah, so that's perhaps even more concerning.
Okay.
The connection between compute and energy consumption is just undeniable.
Right.
As we push the boundaries of AI, the energy required to train and run these models is growing at an incredible pace.
Yeah, that makes sense. The more processing power you need, the more energy you use.
Right. Okay.
Like a car with a bigger engine burns more fuel.
Exactly. And we're talking about some serious energy consumption here.
Okay.
Microsoft, for example, recently bought 5 gigawatts of power from the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant.
5 gigawatts.
To put that in perspective, that's enough to power roughly 3 million homes for a year.
Wow. That really highlights that this quest for AGI isn't just a technological challenge.
Right.
It's an energy challenge, too.
Absolutely. And it raises some important questions about sustainability.
Okay.
Can renewable energy sources keep up with this demand as it continues to grow?
Yeah, I mean, renewable energy is growing fast.
Right.
But I'm not sure it's growing fast enough to match the energy appetite of AI.
That's a valid concern. And this leads to another critical question. Will AI development end up concentrated in regions with abundant energy resources?
So are we essentially talking about creating a new kind of digital divide
Potentially.
where some countries are left behind simply because they can't afford the energy needed to participate in the AI revolution?
Exactly. And it's not just about the financial cost of the energy.
Right.
There's the environmental impact to consider as well.
Yeah, if we're relying on fossil fuels to power all of this, it's going to have serious consequences for climate change.
It will.
So it seems like the pursuit of AGI through scaling AI is forcing us to confront some very fundamental questions
It is.
about our energy infrastructure and our consumption patterns.
I agree. It's not just about building better AI models anymore. It's about rethinking how we're going to power our technological future.
So we need to be having serious conversations about our energy policies right now.
We do.
Invest in research and development for more sustainable energy sources.
Right.
And really think about the ethical implications of all of this.
Exactly.
Of concentrating so much computing power in the hands of so few.
It's clear that this energy bottleneck is about more than just technical challenges.
Right.
It's tied to these broader societal and environmental issues.
Yeah, the decisions we make today about our energy future are going to have a huge impact
They will.
on the development and accessibility of AI in the years to come and ultimately shape the kind of future we create.
I agree.
We've spent a lot of time talking about these kind of technical bottlenecks with scaling AI.
Right.
The agentic data problem, the just incredible compute power that's needed, and all the, the money and the energy involved.
Right.
But I think as we keep moving towards this AI-powered future,
Yeah.
we really need to start thinking about the bigger picture. Like, what are the societal implications of all this?
That's a really important point. I mean, the pursuit of AGI, especially through this idea of just scaling AI, it brings up some fundamental questions about access and control.
Yeah.
And ultimately, who benefits from all of this? I mean, as we've been discussing, the resources you need for this cutting-edge AI development, the data, the compute, the energy,
Right.
it's all concentrated in the hands of a very small number of corporations and governments.
Right. And that has the potential, I think, to make existing inequalities even worse
Exactly.
and
No.
create new ones, both within countries and between countries. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not just a digital divide anymore.
Right.
It's like we're talking about an AI divide.
Exactly. And the ability to develop and use AI, I mean, that could become the defining factor in the future.
Right.
It'll determine economic competitiveness, technological advancement, maybe even military power.
Right. So those who control these AI resources, I mean, they essentially have the power to shape the future.
Yeah. And potentially leave everyone else behind.
So what can we do? What can we do to prevent this? To make sure that the benefits of AI are shared more equally?
Well, I think it requires a multifaceted approach, to be honest. One really crucial aspect is international collaboration.
Okay.
I mean, nations need to work together, pool their resources, share their knowledge, and really try to make sure that the benefits of AI are spread more evenly.
That makes sense. So more collaboration, more sharing.
Exactly. And another important step is open source initiatives.
Okay.
So making these technologies more accessible,
Right.
open source platforms, they allow developers all over the world to contribute.
Yeah.
And they benefit from these AI advancements. It lowers the barriers to entry for individuals and for organizations that might not have a lot of resources.
So it's about democratizing access
Yeah,
to AI technology and knowledge.
precisely.
So we can avoid this future where only a select few benefit,
Right.
but access, I think that's just one part of the equation.
Yeah.
As these AI systems get more powerful, as they become more autonomous,
Right.
I mean, who's responsible for their actions,
Yeah.
for their decisions?
Yeah.
How do we make sure that AI is developed ethically,
That's a huge question. Right.
responsibly, in a way that aligns with human values and the well-being of society?
Absolutely. That's where ethical frameworks and governance come in. We need to establish really clear guidelines for responsible AI development,
Yeah.
make sure these systems are transparent, that they're accountable,
Right.
and that there's some kind of mechanism for human oversight.
Yeah. Yeah, like a way for humans to step in.
Exactly.
It needed.
And this isn't just a technical problem. This
Yeah.
is a societal issue.
Right.
And it requires, ethicists, policymakers, researchers,
Right.
and even the general public to come together and think about this really carefully.
So as we kind of navigate this really interesting, exciting, but complex world of AI,
Yeah.
the key takeaway for me is that this pursuit of AGI, it's not just a technological thing.
It's not.
It's a human endeavor.
Absolutely.
And it has, huge social implications, ethical implications, economic implications
It does.
that we need to be really thoughtful about.
We do.
And we need to be proactive in shaping a future where AI benefits all of us.
I completely agree.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into scaling AI
Yeah, thanks for having me.
and all of its challenges and its, the possibilities.
Right.
We hope this has given everyone listening a better understanding of what lies ahead as we explore the potential of artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. It's a really exciting time to be involved in this field.
It is.
Thanks for listening to Mythos AI. Stay tuned for more concise insights. And remember to hit the like button and subscribe for future episodes.